Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. This is Tariq. In the previous lecture, we start the concept of the concavity of the graph. We start in the previous lecture concavity of the graph. In here, I am again repeating this section with little modification that I create the graph concave up and concave down. So I am fastly repeating this again. In this section we will examine that when we graph the function, so the graph will be concave up or concave down, how we can examine this concavity of the function using methodology derivative or slope. In this section, we will learn that how we can examine the concavity of the graph of the function using slope or derivative concept. So, if the first derivative of the function for the set of x value is increasing, so the graph of this function will be concave up, as this is given in here. This is concave up. But if the first derivative of the function for the set of x value is decreasing, then the graph of the function will be concave down. So this is actually concave down graph. An inflection point, that point along the graph at which the graph changes its slope from positive to negative or from negative to positive. For example, this is the graph, its slope is decreasing. This is decreasing till this point. But after this point, the slope, the derivative of this graph start to increase. This is increasing. So this point is called inflection point. Or for example, this is the graph, the slope, the first derivative, the graph is increasing, and after this point, the derivative, the slope of this graph start to decrease. So this point is called inflection point, or this point is called inflection point. The point along the graph of the function at which the graph changes its concavity from up to down or from down to up. The point along the graph of the function at which the graph changes its slope from increasing to decreasing or from decreasing to increasing, that point is called inflection point. And from this graph, this is very clear that the graph is coming down. This means slope is decreasing. When reached to here, the graph start to increase. So it means slope change from negative to positive, from decreasing to increasing. So this is inflection point. Or this graph is increasing, going up, increasing. Derivative is positive, but when reached to a maximum, at this point the graph derivative start to be negative. The slope start to decrease. Here increasing and there decreasing. So this is the point of inflection point. So we discussed this in the previous lecture as well, and I plot the graph, so I repeat concavity and inflection point. मादर दोबारा दरदरी में गम के अगर मुश्तक़े अवल फंक्शन सरे x कीमत हा इंक्रीज शुदा मेरा खो ग्राफ concave up रसम मेशा इतुर रसम मेशा. अगर मुश्तक़े अवल फंक्शन सरे x values decrease शुदा मेरा खो ग्राफ concave down रसम मेशा. आल inflection point वो नुक्ता सरे ग्राफ कि सरे वो ग्राफ as decreasing ब increasing तब्दील शवा या as increasing ब decreasing. वो नुक्ता कि सरे वो ग्राफ स्लोप खुद रहा as positive ब negative तब्दील कुने या as negative ब positive तब्दील कुना. मसलन इंजा एक ग्राफ स्लोप मनफी दारा कम शुदा मेरा डिक्रीज शुदा मेरा बाईजा हद अकल की रसीद कम अज कम की रसीद बाद अजू वापस इंक्रीज शुदा मेरा. वो नुक्ता के सरे वो ग्राफ पोजीशन खुद रहा as decreasing ब increasing तब्दील कुना पूरा inflection point मेगा. या वो नुक्ता के सरे वो ग्राफ पोजीशन खुद रहा as increasing ब decreasing तब्दील कुना. मसलन इंजा ग्राफ इंक्रीज शुदा मेरा बाई maximum point ki rasid baad azu decrease shuda mera ko ye nuqta inflection point shuda. Now, second derivative and concavity of the graph, we discussed this in the previous lecture, and now we are starting from this example. For example, determine the concavity of the function f of x is equal to 5x square minus 20x plus 3. This is one example, and we have to determine that the concavity of this function will be concave up or concave down. So how we can determine the concavity of this function using second derivative test? So in the second derivative test, as this is very clear here, we study three different conditions. So in here we are examining the concavity of this function, that the function will be concave up or concave down for the set of x values, but x values are unknown, not given in here. So what to do? First we have to determine the x values, those x values for which the function will be concave up or concave down. And methodology tariqekar, that is second derivative test. Values are unknown. So first we have to take the first derivative and using the inflection point condition to determine the x values. So example is this: determine the concavity of the function. Function is as given that it will be concave up or concave down. Now x values are also unknown. How we can determine the x values? So we can determine the x values using the inflection point condition. And that inflection point condition is this: f prime of x is equal to 0. First derivative for the x value must be 0. So it's mean in this example we do not have the x values and we have to examine concavity. So if we do not have the x values, then we have to create the x value. We have to find the x values. How we can find the x values? Using first derivative. And to check the concavity, again we will use a second derivative test. So it means we need derivatives. So in the very first step, we have to find the derivative. So step 1, taking first derivative we have. Dear students, I am again repeating to avoid confusion. The question is determine the concavity of this function, but we do not have x values. So before this we learn how we can examine concavity. We can examine concavity by checking first derivative or second derivative. In here I am examining concavity of the function using second derivative. So to check concavity we need derivative. Without derivative we cannot examine. So that is why in the very first step I am taking derivative. And with the help of these derivatives we can determine the x values as well. So step 1, taking first derivative we have. This is the function f of x 5x square minus 20x plus 3. F prime of x is equal to 10x minus 20. I take the derivative directly. Now we do not have x values. So how we can examine concavity? We need x values. How we can find? We can determine x value using the inflection point condition. What is the inflection point condition? The point at which the first derivative for the x value must be 0. Yani this means that inflection point we know, we define that point along the graph at which the graph change its slope from increasing to decreasing or from decreasing to increasing. This means at that particular point the slope of the graph is 0. First derivative is equal to 0 for x. So this is condition. With the help of this condition we will determine the x values. Now step 2, determine the x values using inflection point condition. We have f prime of x is equal to 0. I give this a name b, that this is the inflection point condition, that point at which first derivative of the function is 0. Using this condition we can determine x values. So we will put f prime of x is equal to 10x minus 20 in this equation b and solve for x. I am again repeating that we will replace for the f prime of x its value 10x minus 20 in this b. So we will solve for x, and f prime of x we have, this is f prime of x, its value is 10x minus 20. To find x values we will put the value of f prime of x 10x minus 20 in here, in this condition. For f prime of x I am putting 10x minus 20 is equal to 0. Now solve for x, find the x, keep the x alone on dast chap and transfer sabit adat to the dasteras. So how we can find x? By adding 20 to both sides. We have 10x minus 20 plus 20 is equal to 0 plus 20. Minus 20 plus 20 cancel out. 10x is equal to 20. To find x, divide both sides by 10. We have 10x over 10 is equal to 20 over 10, and 10 cancel out with 10. X is equal to 2 because 20 by 10 is equal to 2. Now we determine the location of inflection point. Yani means that point along the function at which the slope of the function, first derivative of the function, will get 0. Now I am checking that at x is equal to 2, this first derivative, this will be 0 or not. So put x is equal to 2 in the first derivative. First derivative must be 0 for x is equal to 2. F prime of x must be 0. Means if we examine that for the x is equal to 2, first derivative is 0 or not, so this must be 0. F prime of x is equal to 10x minus 20. Now f prime of 2, x is a 2, that is why I am replacing for x its value 2. So 10 into 2 minus 20, and f prime of 2 is equal to 20 minus 20, and the first derivative for 2 is equal to 0. It means condition satisfied. When x is equal to 2, at that point the slope of the function will be 0. Now further we will check the concavity using second derivative. So we have to define, determine or take the second derivative of the function. So f prime of x is 10x minus 20 and f double prime of x is equal to 2. This is second derivative. Now to examine that the graph will be concave up or down, we will check this concavity using second derivative for the x value 2. So put x is equal to 2 in the second derivative we have. This is second derivative. This is x. I am replacing for x its value 2. F double prime of 2 is equal to 10. So second derivative for the x value is equal to 2 is positive, and we will say that graph of this function will be concave up. ما ایگا پارا دوباره در زبان دری تشریح میکنیم. example yes که شما بگوین که ये फंक्शन के दादा शुद्ध ग्राफ ये कनकेव अप रसम में शक कनकेव डाउन आलिमा पेश अजी ख्वांदम कि कनकेविटी ये ग्राफ बमुश्तक अवल हम मालूम में शा कि कनकेव अपस और कि कनकेव डाउन और बमुश्तक दोम हम واضح میشه که گراف کنکیو اپ رسم میشه که کنکیو داون. خو یک گپ خو واضح شد که ما کنکیویتی فنکشن را اگزامین میکنیم، ما مجبور هستیم که مشتق اول یا او مشتق دوم فنکشن بگیریم. خو اینجا ما به این وجه در step اول شروع کردیم taking first derivative. خو first derivative فنکشن که ما گرفتیم f prime of x شد دا x منفی 20. یہ مشتق اول فنکشن است. آلی کوشچن روبروی محصل یہ است که سر مشتق با کمک مشتق اول یا دوم خو گفته میشه که کنکیو اپ است، خو کنکیو که گراف کنکیو اپ رسم میشه که کنکیو داون. خو x ولیوز از کجا معلوم میشه؟ x ولیوز خو هیچ نیست. چطور معلوم میشه که سر یه قیمت های x سلوپ فنکشن 0 است که پازیتیو است که نگیتیو است؟ خو او x ولیوز چطور معلوم میشه؟ step دوم determine the x values using inflection point condition, the point at which the first derivative for the x value is 0. یعنی x values چطور معلوم میشه؟ x values با کمک condition inflection point معلوم میشه. او چی است؟ first derivative for x value must be 0. یعنی وہ نقطه سر گراف فنکشن یا وہ نقطه سر فنکشن که سر وہ سلوپ فنکشن با x قیمت ها صفر شوه، derivative با x قیمت ها صفر شوه، وہ inflection point است. با وہ نقطه گراف سلوپ خود یا پوزیشن خود را تغییر میکنه. چرا که اینجا سلوپ صفر است، با یک طرف سلوپ یک ساین داره، دیگه طرف سلوپ دوم ساین داره. اینجا سلوپ صفر است. آلی با کمک یک کنڈیشن از فرست derivative x values گرفته میشه یا کشیده میشه. Step 2 determine the x value using condition f prime of x is equal to 0. خو یہ f prime of x برابر با صفر ما با یک اسم بی دادیم. آلی ما بجای f prime of x قیمت f prime of x باید وضع کنیم. یہ f prime of x است. در کنڈیشن انفلیکشن پوینٹ ما اینجا بجای f prime of x ویلیو بود دا x منفی 20 وضع کده میرم. دا x منفی 20 برابر با صفر شد. آلی by adding b's to both sides we have باید ما x را بکشیم معلوم کنیم. خو x باید به طرف چپ تنها باشه و ثابت عدد به دیگر طرف انتقال شود. چطور میشه؟ 20 ما به طرف چپ و به طرف راست جمع کده میریم. منفی 20 جمع 20 0 جمع 20. اینجا منفی 20 کته مثبت 20 خلاص شد. دا x میمانه و این طرف 0 جمع 20 20 شد. آلی طرفین را تقسیم کو بدا او که تقسیم کردیم دا x تقسیم دا و 20 تقسیم دا کته دا خلاص شد. 20 تقسیم دا 2 برآمد x برابر 2 شد. یعنی اگر قیمت x 2 است خو سریو نقطه سلوپ فنکشن 0 میشه، فرست دریویتیو 0 میشه. و چطور ما ایره اگزامین میکنیم، چک میکنیم در مرحله سیوم. ما بجای x 2 وضع میکنیم در اول دریویتیو که فرست دریویتیو باید 0 کلکولیت شوه. f prime of x باید 0 شوه. یہ f prime of x است برابر به دا x منفی 20. x 2 وضع کردیم f prime of 2 برابر با دا x 2 است دا 2 منفی 20 او f prime of 2 برابر با دا ضرب 2 20 منفی 20 f prime of 2 چی برآمد؟ صفر. یعنی یہ کنڈیشن انفلیکشن پوینٹ هم سٹسفاید شد. اول خما x ویلیوز باید معلوم کنیم. وہ چطور معلوم میشه؟ با کمک ڈریویٹیو اول یا مشتق اول او با کنڈیشن انفلیکشن پوینٹ. او که ما 2 معلوم کردیم در فرست دریویتیو که وضع کردیم فرست دریویتیو با 2 صفر شد. یعنی کنڈیشن سٹسفاید شد. سر 2 ویلیو سر گراف 2 x 2 او y f of 2 نقطه است که سر او سلوپ فنکشن 0 میشه. حالا ما کنکیویتی را چک میکنیم با کمک سیکند دریویتیو. ما مجبور هستیم که مشتق اول را به مشتق دوم چینج کنیم، یعنی مشتق دوم هم بگیریم. و مشتق دوم چی شد؟ اف ڈبل پرائم اف ایکس برابر به دا برآمد. و یہ به این معنی که اوکی ما examine میکنیم بجای x قیمت x دو وضع میکنیم in the second derivative که معلوم شود که second derivative چی است؟ مثبت است که منفی است. و اینجا که بجای x ما دو وضع کردیم f double prime 2 دا مثبت ویلیو برآمد. یہ به این معنی که گراف فنکشن the value x is equal to 2 kya, so concave up rasam mesha. As second derivative is positive for the x value, so graph is concave up at this point to f of 2. Yani second mushtaq dom ba x is equal to 2 musbat baramad aw waqt ke mushtaq dom musbat nahi baraya sar x value graph function concave up rasam mesha. Ba I wajah in jo hum second derivative da musbat calculate should by x is equal to 2 by I wajah graph ye function concave up rasam nisha.